On the issue of illegal mining, we, the minority, are of the view that this represents one of Ghana's gravest governance challenges that has persisted across successive governments and which has escalated into a full-blown national crisis is the menace of illegal mining.
Parliament, after a very long break, they are back to duties. And then Parliament beginning a new session, the third meeting of the first session of the 9th Parliament after a long break. And they are all back in the floor. Right, Honorable Speaker Bagbin. And then Shafuni na be share on share on daily and some routine parliamentary business no ase. Na Honorable Alexander Kwame Afenyo Markin sa oye minority leader no enya kwenya say obe making some remarks and also the same Metugwa as the first day of the meeting and also of the session at the same Metugwa afa said in Ghana ohun nyoma fa ehun. Anona Honorable Afenyo Markin sinya kwenya no kire say yes. During this break here Parliament ko enu mu na atojenjam kese ehiti Ghana yes sure nimdefo ba watwe mechiremu 8 gallant men a ebusuya menkai o man Ghana ya onemom e was abri mu na asasem ya to Ghana eya asefem sem eno echi no this is the first time a Parliament a convene after that bad calamity hit Ghana. Then no starting in 74 was say sansem no ye msem bia esi during the breaker Parliament e was recess no. Now, what should I say?
Speaker, let me thank you for the opportunity to make my remarks as we reconvene for the third meeting of the first session of the 9th Parliament. Mr. Speaker, I begin by warmly welcoming your good self, your deputies, honorable colleagues in leadership, and all members of this House back to our legislative duties. I also extend this welcome to the Clerk to Parliament and his deputies, the dedicated staff of parliamentary service, and members of the Parliamentary Press Corps, whose support remains invaluable to the work we do. Mr. Speaker, during the recess, we were struck with sorrow with the passing of 8 distinguished citizens who served Ghana with dedication and honor. We mourn our respected colleague, Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed, Member of Parliament for Tamale Central and Minister for Environment, Science and Technology and Innovation. We also remember Dr. Edward Omanibuama, Minister for Defense, Alhaji Muniru Mohammed, Acting Deputy National Security Coordinator, the Deputy Dr. Samuel Sapon, Vice Chairman of National Democratic Congress, and Samuel Abuaje, former parliamentary candidate, Squadron Leader Peter Bafami Anala, Flying Officer Manin Chum Ampedu, and Sergeant Ernest Adu Mensah. Mr. Speaker, the minority extends its deepest condolences to their families, loved ones, and all who mourn their loss. May their soul rest in perfect peace. Even as we are inspired by their dedicated service to recommit to public service with dignity, courage, and honor.
Now, what should I say? Obuebu Nkompo Ashe Ehu say, Ghana, a bunch say they are bringing down cost of living and all that, but the ordinary Ghanaians are not feeling the impact of the stabilization of the economy or the stabilization of the city. And don't you know? Government should take the needed steps to make sure that the stabilization that they are talking about actually reflects in the pocket of the ordinary Ghanaian, and also it should be seen in the cost of living of Ghanaians.
Mr. Speaker, the state of our nation's governance presents a mix of trials and opportunities, from economic hardship on the home front to unsettling development on the international stage. These past months have indeed tested our resilience as a country. Mr. Speaker, Ghanaians remain concerned about the economy. While recent indicators show modest macroeconomic gains, these are yet to bring real relief to the ordinary citizen. The truth is, stabilization means little if the youth remain unemployed and families still struggle with the cost of living. The mass dismissals across key state institutions represent a direct assault on the integrity of public service. Competent officers who were employed have been sacked from office under directives from the Chief of Staff. These dismissals were carried out without due process, without cause, and in clear violation of constitutional and statutory provisions. These are politically motivated acts that undermine professionalism, weaken state institutions, and erode public confidence in governance.
Wamana so Sanchez said, "Abai by in the course of the recess, no, Abetogwa said, nipa over 200 have been laid off from the various job positions. Nina is instructed by the Chief of Staff, the Chairman Rabu Jilo Debra said, so no, we say Ekoswa and Wamatimemufono Ekoma and Toyem. But Tankrach said, doctors will be Echo strike, over 200 of them, newly trained doctors, junior doctors, Echo strike. In actually say, I'm to know my name. Nampo Crampono, 800 newly trained doctors are in the house. One year you may be and yet are buying a bit to me and show.
The recent labor unrest whilst we were on break shows a clear public discontent. Over 200 junior doctors have worked for 10 months without pay, and more than 800 remain unposted. Newly trained teachers and nurses have also gone months without salaries. These are the stories of hardship people face. A government that fails to pay its frontline workers cannot claim to care for its people. Mr. Speaker, it must be emphasized that the MPP government, whilst in office, initiated the 1D1F. This was conceived as a vehicle to drive industrial growth and create sustainable jobs through private sector participation. However, government actions in recent months show a clear lack of commitment to that vision. Instead of providing real support to existing private sector jobs and easing the cost of doing business, bureaucracies are being created, frustrating investors and entrepreneurs. This stifles innovation, discourages productivity, and risks choking the public sector with inefficiencies that private sector was meant to relieve. But, Mr. Speaker, no economy can grow when private sector initiative is replaced with political control. The time has come for government to walk the talk of ensuring that the private sector becomes the real engine of growth. Enough of the rhetorics. The 24-hour economy must not be an empty talk. It must provide a hope for many youths who expect jobs. Mr. Speaker, on the governance front,
Osanchere said, the issue of Galamsey Sembia at the say the current government Breswa Esin Aban Bia Breso. I don't know. Gold board aba yes. I agree panemum or when gold ni fasoa impo nipa bi kura via gold small gold if Ghana no. They need to deal with all those issues because Ghana actually a japade and African put revenue through the smuggling of gold from our soil.
On the issue of illegal mining, we, the minority, are of the view that this represents one of Ghana's gravest governance challenges that has persisted across successive governments and which has escalated into a full-blown national crisis is the menace of illegal mining, popularly known as Galamsey. The devastation caused by Galamsey to our environment, water bodies, and public health cannot be overstated. Even as we convene today, Mr. Speaker, our rivers run brown with pollution. Vast tracts of once fertile land lies carried and toxic, and many of our citizens in mining communities face illness and danger from poisonous chemicals. We have talked about illegal mining for years, yet the problem has only grown worse. Time for mere talk is over. We need decisive, visionary action now to save our country's future from disaster. Not long ago, we were warned. One such early warning came in 2010 when investigative journalist Anas Arimayew Anas released a documentary exposing the dark underbelly of Galamsey. That expose, part of the Africa Investigate series, shone a light on the tragic consequences of illegal mining that were already evident back then. The documentary recounted how in June 2010, a Galamsey pit near Dunkwa Onofin flooded, killing an estimated 150 people in a single disaster. It showed the rampant corruption and complicity that allowed Galamsey to flourish, including officials meant to enforce the law taking bribes to look the other way. It highlighted the environmental havoc being unleashed, rivers poisoned with mercury, cyanide and other toxins, local communities suffering flooding and pollution, fishermen and farmers losing their livelihood. Anas's work in 2010 was an early warning alert for our nation. Then again in 2015, Finance Minister Honorable Setekwe again brought this up at the Finance Committee hearing in Parliament when discussing reasons for the declining cocoa production in Ghana. Tragically, Mr. Speaker, those warnings were not heeded with the urgency and seriousness they deserved. Fast forward, today, the nightmare scenario is upon us. Just last month, new study by Pure Earth and Ghana's own EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, revealed terrifying data about toxin levels in mining communities. In some areas, mercury contamination in the soil is 134 times above safe levels, and arsenic concentration are over 4,000% higher than what the WHO deems safe. These poisonous metals are seeping into the water, into food crops, into the very bodies of our people. Doctors are reporting an uptick in children from mining areas developing kidney disorders and even finding mercury pellets in their x-rays. Children, Mr. Speaker, now require dialysis because of the poisonous fruits of Galamsey. Our nation's future is being sickened and stunted. Mr. Speaker, despite being Ghana's top gold producer, the surge in unregulated small-scale mining has created an underground economy that drains national resources and benefits criminal networks. In just 8 months this year, small-scale gold exports surged to over $6.3 billion, according to the CEO of Ghana Gold Board. However, much of this trade is believed to be illicit. The state loses billions in revenue while communities suffer environmental devastation. The minority stands with all Ghanaians, calling for decisive action. We welcome the advocacy from civil society and religious leaders, and we support real solutions from tougher laws to sustainable alternatives. Mr. Speaker, we must also admit that the situation has worsened since this government came into office. At the 2025 May Day celebrations, organized labor, speaking through its General Secretary General, confronted this matter with deep disappointment that the Galamsey menace has worsened under the watch of this government, barely 5 months into its administration. TUC's position was again echoed by the acting Chief Justice, Justice Paul Bafuboni, at the GBA conference in Wa, where he also described the crisis as worsening. Mr. Speaker, when labor and the judiciary raise their voices together, we must listen because these are not partisan voices. Mr. Speaker, the time to act is now. If we fail to protect our rivers, land, and communities, we risk failing an entire generation. Mr. Speaker, during the recess, a foreign policy development came to light regarding an agreement between the government of Ghana and the United States to accept some deportees. Mr. Speaker, the agreement of such magnitude, in our view, and we respectfully submit, should be subject to the parliamentary scrutiny and Article 75 of the 1992 Constitution. We therefore demand that this arrangement be brought before Parliament for ratification. Ghana's foreign policy must never be conducted in secrecy, nor should we compromise our sovereignty for expediency. We urge the government to always place Ghana's dignity first and ensure that any international agreement reflects our values and command the confidence of the Ghanaian people. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, it is worth emphasizing that Ghana's story is of triumphs achieved through
Ghana. This is the first remarks, sir. Honorable Alexander Afenyo Markin, so minority leader, no, we're making on the floor of Parliament on the third session of the first meeting of the 9th Parliament. What do you make of it? Or you disagree with him? You disagree with him? Drop a comment no over the comment section. Na san share video yi na ofro so nya bi hwe. Bye bye.